All right. Welcome back to another episode of Present Truth from Camp to Mead. And we have Tom Stapleton today. 3 questions. All around, are we living in the time of the end? Thank you for joining us, Tom. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, thank you. So
Excellent. So
you've asked a pretty important question. Are we living at the time of the end? Do you think it's important that we know if we're living at the time of the end?
well, Yeshua seemed to make it pretty important that we would know that. And we read in Daniel and Revelation and these books tell us to know.
Right.
So how would you answer that question? Are we living in the time of the end?
Well, I think there's a number of indicators that we're living at the time of the end. I've got a few jotted down here. Number one, we can go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the Tower of Babel, and when the earth was all one language. And because the earth was all one language, God saw that everything that they put their minds to do, they would be able to do. And there's another indicator there with the Tower of Babel, is that they were building cities. They were centers of commerce, and people were gathering in the cities. Now, that's 2 things just on the Tower of Babel alone. It used to be that most people lived in rural areas, the bulk of the population. Now everyone's moving into the cities. So, we've got some pretty good similarities. The other thing about the Tower of Babel, now we've got 2 things about the Tower of Babel that are very similar to today, because number one, we've overcome the language barrier in the world. We've got all the top scientists working together now. And so could we be at the same spot? Now, the third one that, some people may disagree with me on this one, but that's okay. They were building a tower to reach the heavens. And part of that motivation was that they would be able to escape the destruction of the world again. Now, how was the world destroyed? It was destroyed by a flood. But we know the world will be destroyed again, but it won't be by a flood. So we can see another parallel that today, the NASAs of the world, and there are many science, many astronomy outfits in the world, companies and so on, private and government, that they are trying to reach the heavens. And why are they doing this? Because they recognize that there's a possibility that something could hit us from outer space that would create a destruction, a major destruction on this planet. So they're searching at ways to preserve humankind by doing this. So just in the Tower of Babel alone, we've got 3 indicators. Number one, the language barrier has been crossed. Number 2, they were gathering in the cities. The populations were in the cities. That's what they had set out to do. And number 3, they were building towers to the heavens. They were building a tower to the heaven, which is exactly what the NASAs of the world are doing. So that's one sign. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's good. And that was the second question, is what is the evidence? So that's one piece of evidence. And now Yeshua talked in Matthew 24 about a whole bunch of different things. And he mentioned a bunch of details in there.
Right.
Some of these things are going to have to happen too. And if they are, what is the stuff that we see in today's news or social culture that would identify as those things?
Right. One of the obvious things that seems to glare at us, even in the billboards and stuff as we drive down the highway and the news and so on, the real disregard for God's laws and His way that He has set things up. And I'm talking about something just as simple as marriage. Marriage, biblically speaking, is between a man and a woman, and that's pretty much been thrown out. So,
right.
But that takes me back to the time of Noah, where licentiousness was rampant. And this is what happened at Sodom and Gomorrah as well. Same type of thing. I mean, I was at a checkout one time, and there was an article at the newsstand about this sodomy type stuff. And I said to the checkout gal, I said, this stuff is really scary because most people understand what sodomy is. And I said, most people, even unbelievers, when you say something about sodomy, they know what that is. Amazing. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't understand why people are playing with this stuff, because they know the end result of it. And they don't maybe even know the story in the Bible, but everyone knows about Sodom and Gomorrah. Most people that I know about Sodom and Gomorrah, and they don't think twice that, hey, if that happened once before, could it happen again? It's scary. This is it's an agenda, as it were, Hollywood and in politics. You can see it. It's a push.
Right.
It's a push in this direction. So to me, that's another huge sign, and that comes out of Matthew 24 chapter. Yeshua said, as in the days of Noah, and so shall it be. So that's another sign that comes out of Matthew 24. I'm thinking of another one where Daniel's told in Daniel chapter 12, verse 4, he said he's told to seal up the vision, for it refers to many days in the future, or he says until the time of the end. So we can see here there's a lot of studying on the books of Daniel, and there's being some very good applications, and we are attempting that as well, studying the books of Daniel and coming up with some things that are looking a lot like the news today. And we'll be talking more about that. In fact, we're going to do some meetings here in the next few weeks down in Texas, and we're going to be covering that subject. So we will be releasing those videos when that's done. But surely the books of Daniel, and when I say the book of Daniel, that also is referring to the book of Revelation, because when the two books are studied together, you can see that they're very clearly companion books. So that to me is another indicator.
So Daniel and Revelation are saying the same story. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes, and it's very easy to demonstrate that. Very easy to demonstrate that. They're one and the same. Each one gives a little different information, but when they're compared together, they basically layer on top of each other, and they fit really nicely together once they're studied together. You can clearly see that. And we've got other videos on that as well that can be seen on our website at endtimesprophecy.com. So avail yourselves, you people that are listening, avail yourselves of this information, because we need to know the events that are about to happen, because they are major.
Okay. So we know that we are living in the time of the end, and we've looked at some of the evidence. There's more available, as you're saying. Third question, though, what does that mean for us today? Like, how would that impact me today, knowing that we live in that kind of a time? Or how should it biblically impact me today in my life?
Well, okay, let's just go to the end of that, and we'll work backwards. He says, it doesn't appear what we will be like, but when he appears, we will be like him. Okay, so that's the end of the story. So at the second coming, those that are alive and remain, Paul talks about in another place, he says, these people that meet Yeshua at his coming will be like him. But I think the primary thing is we will be like him in character. So here's your question. We'll go back to your question now. Who would be able, and I'm talking to the listeners, I'm talking to myself, I'm talking to Alan, who of our listeners would be willing to stand up and say, I am like Yeshua? I'm just like Yeshua.
Not me.
You wouldn't be able to tell me apart from him.
Not me.
I'm not there. So I think the direct answer to your question is, because his coming is soon, there may be some spiritual preparation that we should start thinking about. What would it mean to be like him? It'd be kind of like if you're going to take a holiday in Hawaii, you probably wouldn't take your parka or your snow boots with you. You would be taking the gear
Right.
that you might want to take some scuba gear or some, things like this, your bathing suit, that type of thing. So if we're getting ready to meet Yeshua, we might want to have the apparel that would be fitting to meet him.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Well, let's wrap it up there and leave it for another topic for the next video. But
Well,
I think you're right.
I was hoping we'd get to some other ones, like I have some written down here. Global warming. I'd really like to talk about that. You're probably not going to give me time to do that. Wars and rumors of wars. This is major. This is major because it is the first of the many signs in Matthew 24 and Mark 13 and Luke 21. War is the thing that sends us, if you want to call it, over into the abyss of the time and the end. Also, many will come in my name. Very interesting. We need to talk about that. In fact, we're going to dedicate some of these present truth presentations solely to these things because they do take a little more time. So we'll be talking about those other signs of his coming as well.
Excellent. Well, we can do that. And it's very encouraging that we can get this done in a short period of time. So thank you for trying to condense it all. It's really tough. I know there's a lot to go over. And this seminar that you're going to be putting on, is that going to be able to be viewed online, or are you going to be recording that?
We're planning on recording it, so we will have those presentations and we will be putting them up. Yes. We probably
and that's all up to date.
Yes, that'll be right up to date, and we're going to be covering some of these things that we just talked about in depth and really making some good sense out of it. I'm very excited about these meetings. They're going to be just wonderful. Yeah.
All right, so stay tuned for that. There's going to be more on that coming in the future. But as for now, we are in the time of the end. There are indicators that we are there, and it should be pushing us to repentance and the character of Yeshua in our daily walk. And I think that's really great. So, all right. Well, stay tuned for more, and please comment below. Please send in your comments to the email, histruthseekersministry@gmail.com. You'll see that on the screen and in the description. We want to hear from you with more content and more topics. So thank you again for joining us, Tom, and we'll see you shortly.
They can also go to our website at endtimesprophecy.com and on the comment section, and avail yourselves of lots of resources, lots of presentations and some books and DVDs and so on. So I invite you to go there as well. Okay, thanks for having me.
Excellent.
And look forward to another meeting.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Tom.